Hello everyone, this is the final part in a trilogy of videos that I've done over the past couple weeks on Asperger syndrome and ways of coping with having it. And the first part was about acting, and I talked about how aspies will a lot of times try to copy other people, copy their language, their mannerisms, their expressions, even if they don't necessarily understand what they mean. And the second video was about escape, namely escape into imagination, which talked about uh, how Aspies can, sometimes invent worlds of their own, I guess as a means of coping with reality that, can sometimes be hard to understand. And the third and final part is isolation, which is basically, shutting yourself off uh, from people and from society and, everything else. I think Tony Atwood, in his book, The Complete Guide to Asperger Syndrome, I think he said somewhere like at the beginning, I think this was in the book, it was either in the book or on a website somewhere, but I read, a surefire way to instantly cure your child of Asperger syndrome is to uh, let him or her go into his room, shut the door, and let them enjoy, whatever activities they enjoy doing. And, obviously that's kind of an oversimplification, but, the point is that going into isolation and, just being alone can, it can be a definite source of uh, de-stressing, I guess. Um, but there are cons to it as well. But I'll start with the pros. Firstly, when you lock yourself away, there's definitely a reduced sense of discomfort due to overstimulation. You're not around any loud noises or bright lights. You can control your environment. Like for me, I always keep my room kind of dimly lit because my eyes are really sensitive to light and heat, and I always try to keep the room fairly cool because hot temperatures just they kind of make me ill. Um, but yeah, since the environment is controlled, you can make sure that there's nothing that will make you uncomfortable, which is definitely a good thing because it gives you it gives you more sense of control, so you don't feel like you're helpless in your environment. And also, obviously being alone, there's a lack of social pressure. I guess you don't have to worry about any kind of confrontations with people or anything like that. I mean, you can still talk to people online, but that that situation is still much more controlled, and you can really, think what you're going to say when you talk online and things like that. So I guess it's basically an issue of control because when you're away from people and you're isolated, it does bring about a sense of comfort because you're not worrying about you know what him or her is going to think, or what should I say in this situation, because those factors aren't there. It's comforting in a sense. And finally, you have more freedom to explore whatever interests you. Um, for me, it's like making music and writing, listening to music, things like that. And it's a lot easier to do that sort of thing when you're by yourself. It kind of clears your mind and gives you a chance to think freely without any kind of pressure. So I guess lack of pressure and stress and control. I think those are the two main aspects of isolation that are really, beneficial to a person with Asperger syndrome. But then, there are the cons. Um, the first is that there's no real chance to improve your social skills. If you're not anywhere near a pond, how can you catch any fish? You know, so there's nothing really pushing you to go out and try to improve your social skills. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, you can still chat online and everything, which I guess can be good practice, but there's not that physical aspect. And I guess finally, for me, this is more a personal thing, but another con of isolation is that there's nothing new. If I turn around, I know exactly what I'm going to see behind me. I know that there are, walls and a ceiling and a television behind me, and there's nothing but that. And when you're locked away, from society and everything sort of becomes monotonous and routine. And as an aspie, I like routine. I like to not be surprised, you know. Well, I enjoy being surprised, but I like being pleasantly surprised. But I don't like being faced with, new challenges that I don't have time to prepare for. But when you're isolated, there's just nothing. There's just, empty space, and like I said, nothing to challenge you and nothing to excite you or surprise you. So to me, that's kind of a con, because I mentioned this, I think, in the very first video when I talked about my diagnosis. I said that I enjoy routine, I enjoy predictability, but at the same time, I don't want my life to be routine and dull and monotonous. And how can life be anything but routine, dull, and monotonous when you're just here and nowhere else?